Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. We are back again. We got some long ballot measures for Maine. Well, I wouldn't say they're long, but we do have a list. And we're going to probably take 20 minutes to go through all of them. So let's go ahead and get started. We got question one, and question one specifically asks basically about limit to contributions to super PACs. So we're going to take a look at that. Question one, main question one. So it's kind of hard to determine what the results actually looks like, but I can tell you right now, by county-wise, yes is carrying every single county. I don't think there's no way. Yeah, Washington County, 71%. I'll tell you this, that's not correct. Washington County successfully voted yes to this referendum. This is the countryside of Washington County. Do not get confused. They just don't categorize. They categorize the remaining or non-cities of Washington County as Washington County. That's not necessarily accurate. Thought it would be appropriate to announce that. So looking here, you'll see this proposition would set a $5,000 limit for donations to the political action committees. Now, $5,000 limit, keep in mind, 74.9% of residents support this. You'll see that the city, in this case, that supported it the most is Glenwood Plantation. And I don't know where Glenwood Plantation is. I have very little care in the world. It's one of these darker cities, as you can tell. But I actually voted 100% with only 2 votes. So you got to remember, it's probably, in my view, a very unpopulated city. So I would think it'd be more over here. I'd kind of be a little surprised if it was off closer to the coasts of Maine. But 100% of the popular vote going for the yes option in category. No is at 0%. So it's probably the first community, probably the only community we have seen so far to support this. No saw the most of support of the Washington County townships, which saw 71% of the popular vote. Okay? Obviously, you'll see yes has carried every single county, 74%. I would have a hard time believing that Washington County, the county itself, would actually vote no on this. So every county voting supportable to this measure here. Question 2, issue research, development, and commercialization bond. So this measure specifically would authorize a $25 million bond issue to support innovation in technologies for life sciences, biomedicine, renewable energy, and other sectors. Now, 54% are in support of this ballot measure, and you'll see there's pattern on how this ballot measure is kind of supported. Maybe I can actually pull up a map. Find a map on Wikipedia. Perhaps I can actually look up ballot measures by state in 2024. I know there's a page on 2024 ballot measures, but not all of them have maps, and not all of them have pages. So that's really, really hard to actually find and determine the actual results of these ballot measures. But we'll give it a try, but I'm absolutely not going to search the web for a map. It's a waste of time. But let's go ahead. We are looking at these are the results, recent results. We want Maine, state of Maine. Here we go. Okay, so there's a flag referendum. There's very little. Okay, it's obviously Wikipedia has very little references in Maine, but Maine. Okay, yes, there's question 1, of course. Wait, hang on. Nope, this is abortion. Okay, yeah. I don't know. there was supposed to be an abortion ballot measure, but that failed. We're just going to use the communities. But yes, look at here. Obvious results here. You'll see Aristotle County Township. So obviously, this measure would authorize a $25 million bond issue to support innovation in technologies for life sciences, biomedicine, renewable energy, and other sectors. So that means that the increase in your taxes. So that's why we see a lot of no in more rural Maine, in what we usually see as more conservative, right? And you are seeing mostly on the coasts of Maine, very liberal. Their support of this ballot measure. They're in support of it. 54.3%. That's what we usually see Maine as, right? 54% at least. So, yes, obviously, let's see. The city of Monhegan Island Plantation, 78%. Could be along the coasts. I am not sure. I'm guessing it's this Camden, Mount Desert. Yeah, it's one of these darker communities. But yes, it's 78%, 63 votes in total in this city. Now, remember, not all these cities are the most populated. In the no category, we got Denniston Plantation. This is Washington County, of course. Blues. We got Penobscot County townships, Weston. Yeah, we got it's up here somewhere. But Denniston Plantation, 26 votes in there. But that community is striking that question 2 down. All right, question 3. That is issue historic community restoration bond. That specifically. This measure would authorize $10 million bond issue to restore historic buildings owned by the government or nonprofits, with financing requiring a 25% local match. It was a tight race, but yes prevailed yet again, 51.2%. You'll see a very tight race here. Looking at the results, the community of Isle Ahat, it is the community that benefited the most, 77% of the popular vote. Tight race, I want to believe 3% in, of course. Rockwood Strip. But yeah, it was a tight race here. 77%. But yes, Bar Harbor. So about what this ballot measure really says, it authorizes $10 million bond issue to restore historic buildings and owned by government, so it's restoring, spending, raising up these taxes. A $10 million bond to open up these, to restore these historic communities, like opening up these historical areas. A lot of mainlanders or Mainers or whatever you call them, they're coming out and saying, no, why do we need these community? Why do we need to open up historic communities? That's not really necessary to spend our tax dollars on. So they're coming out, they're saying no to this. 48.8%. But then, of course, you got more liberals that they feel like, oh, we need more museums. They support taxing museums. Guys, guess what? In Minnesota, we have to pay taxes to keep the Minneapolis St. Paul museums open. Like, they're completely free. That because we pay for it via tax dollars. That's pathetic. And that's why taxes are just so high in Minnesota, because the government takes the initiative. They totally go and they say, you're paying for this, you're paying for that. They do not want to take accountability. So now, apparently, in Maine, they're reopening historic cities that honestly, we don't need to do that. But apparently, they're doing it for the fun of information, and they're forcing via tax dollars, taxpayers to pay for it, which has proved to be very controversial. So you'll see Isle Hot, that's French. That, of course, they're in support of this measure. I believe they're in the coast somewhere. 77% in support of the ballot measure. No, you'll see Glenwood Plantation. 100% against it. 2 votes, the 2 voters said no. Interestingly enough, there's also some communities that tied expectationally. Look at that. 1,069, that's Wilton and Uptown. 27-27. It's completely tied, along with Dennistown Dennistown Plantations right here. Moose River is also tied. Interesting results there. So that's question 3. Question 4, issue outdoor recreation bonds. So this ballot measure, if passed, would authorize a $30 million bond issue to develop and maintain trails statewide. Lots of taxes in these ballot measures. So basically it's asking to develop and maintain statewide trails. Now, this one passed, okay? A lot of people like the state parks around the country. People enjoy the state parks. They want to see improvements. So I'm not surprised these parks and trails, they're being, I don't know, let's just say managed. They're being updated more. They're expanding it. And people like to see that. That's probably what a lot of people want to see their tax dollars go to. So ultimately, this measure passes 55.4%. Then again, 9-point margin to the 44.6%. The 44.6% are probably the people that just don't want to see their tax dollars go to something that it doesn't need to go to, or if they don't feel a reliable cause to the nature trails. I'll tell you, I voted in my very first ballot measure this year. Minnesota's question 1, I want to believe. We'll review that and do a separate video on that. But it basically was asking the same thing. I said no, because I said, you know what? Our taxes are just too high already. And I was doing that mostly in protest that the fact that we are already paying for these museums. We are already paying for these programs. Too much. And the last thing we need is more spending, more taxation. And of course it passed overwhelmingly, but that was my reason of voting no to that amendment, which obviously was approved overwhelmingly. But if you voted for it, if you're a Minnesotan voted for it, I'm not going against you at all. That was my reason for voting against it. But 55.4% in support of this ballot measure when it comes to question 4. Now, the last question of the day. It's kind of my favorite. Restore former state flag. Now, I would support this ballot measure. I totally would. But unfortunately, that didn't work. Now, it looks like more liberals support it. Why would I support bringing back the state flag? Well, we got to take a look at that former state flag. A lot of people don't know what the former state flag looked like. The former state flag is pretty cool. And it's pretty simple. A tree with a star. I'm a flag expert too. I'm very, 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 in my view, very interested in flags. I am a flag expert. This is not a flag. I'm sorry, this is not a flag. This is a seal on a blue banner. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think our flags need to be redone. But there's a lot of people, especially in the conservative movement, that just don't want to redo the flags because they view it's a canceling history. But I want to disagree with that, if you will, because I want you to think of it. This is not canceling history. There's nothing to cancel here. The woke left is not trying to cancel this flag. And for those of you who are saying that, I am disagreeing with you outright. That's not true. This flag, there's nothing woke about it. There's nothing controversial about it. Massachusetts flag is more controversial. And I would be against changing that flag by protest of why they're trying to do it. I was against changing the Minnesota state flag. Let me be honest. Because I'll tell you, the flag of Minnesota, I don't like it, and I still don't like the latest flag. I don't like this flag. I'm being honest with you. There's nothing representative about it. Okay? A lot of people like the flag of the conservative movement to help protest the wokeness of the woke protest against this flag. I get it. I understand that. And I think the seal is very base, but I don't think the flag is. The flag is just the seal of Minnesota on a blue background. I could basically make the argument, change the background of the flag. It doesn't matter. It's just the seal on a background. There's nothing creative about it. Although the seal is pretty based. It's based. The left wants to go and cry, it's a racist seal because Native Americans in the background! Really? No, well, here's the thing. There's nothing racist. The Native Americans in the background. So, I think it's out to date. We don't have Native Americans on horseback rarely in Minnesota. The Native American population has decreased by a lot in Minnesota, so I don't think there's a reason to have the Native American on there. But I can understand why my state senator, Glenn Grunhagen, he led the effort to bring it in, to keep this flag in said restoration, and I respect that. Although I think it was mostly a distraction from the issues that actually do matter, all I'm saying is there's some flags that I would like to keep. Now, I did not like that they took out the flag. I think it should have been a referendum. We should have chose. We should have chose if this former flag got to stay or this flag got to go. And that was frustrating. I was frustrated with the rest of my base. We should have got to choose if this flag, and not a lot, and just totally look at the feelings of woke Native Americans that were offended because they had because they didn't feel that they were represented in the flag that they felt was inappropriate. And honestly, I find nothing offensive on that. And I feel that those people specifically, they're woke. They're victimized. They victimize themselves. And the fact that they got their way, that's just so bad. It's horrible. So, in this flag, I like it. I like the design. I know a lot of people don't. I don't like the fact that this was obviously made to appease a group. And it was not the Native American group. Joe Rogan pointed this out. I want you all to take a look at a flag of a certain country. The flag is Somalia. And you're going to see a pattern, okay? The same shade of blue. Okay, yeah, here we go. Not a different shade, but you have the star. You have light blue. And you got dark blue right here. Maybe the dark blue is something different, but Joe Rogan specifically pointed out, if this dark shade of navy blue is not here, this would have replicated the Somali flag, which, as you guys know, Somalis are the second biggest ethnic group in Minnesota. They have a 60% lead, 60-point lead compared to the national average in every single group. So the fact of the matter was, I like the flag. But the fact that you designed the colors to appease a group, I didn't like that. To be honest, this was the original flag that was voted on. This flag right here. We were going in thinking this was what the flag was going to look like. But the state legislature decided to wokeify it and edit it, which is horrible. Make it look like this. Now, it's nothing against Somali sentiment. They're welcome here. But then again, you don't need to virtue signal to them. Why do they need to be virtue signaled? This flag doesn't represent Minnesota. It looks Somali. It looks Somali. And I'll tell you, there's more to Minnesota than just the Somali population. That was my example of what I thought about the Minnesota state flag. What about Maine's flag? Obviously, I think it's bad. Look at this flag. And it's even rated the 60th, the 13th worst flag in the state, while being the 60th best in the whole, while counting the provincial flags of Canada. That's embarrassing. And you guys voted to keep it? 55.7%. I get these are all conservatives, but please, guys, the fact, now I'm going to be bashing our conservative movement, because here's the deal. We got to point out the flaws. I understand that we want to keep history, right? We want to preserve and keep history. But when things are outdated and things are just obviously not like this, you cannot legitimately say this is a flag. This is the seal of Maine on a blue background. It ridiculously doesn't even matter on what type of background you put it on. This right here, the flag, they weren't going to create a new flag. They were going to restore the old flag. So if you guys are whining and crying about canceling history, and I'm not blaming you guys. This is what the state results look like. But this is what would be the new flag. This was the old flag of Maine. The old flag. The old flag that was not made in 2024. It was made in 1901. So people that say, oh no, you're canceling history, this is history. And we're bringing back history. And you can make the point that when the current flag, this flag was taken down and replaced with probably one of the worst flags in the country that was adopted in 1909. You could make the point that 1909, you are canceling history. You're canceling history. I see no representation of Maine in this flag. I see no representation in any flag that has a blue, dull, dumb background with a slap of a seal on it. No. I see nothing based about it. Now, if there's a woke, if it was Minnesota's situation, where they created the new flag to appease a certain demographic group, then that's different. You removed the current flag, which some random 6 group of people petitioned, like 60 to 100 Native Americans said that they offended them. You removed it without a ballot measure, and you then instead decide to appease a totally different group, not the Minnesotan people. That is different. That's different. But Maine, there's nothing controversial on the Maine flag. There's nothing to boo-hoo, whine, and cry about on the Maine flag. It's just bad. It's bad. And the fact that the legislature in 1909 decided to get rid of the former flag of Maine and replace it with this garbage, then guess what? You're ruining representation. The South, by the way, guys, they are based. Guys, here's the thing. Southern conservatives, they were against this whole blue banner with a seal on top. They refused to cooperate with it. The Confederate States of America created the very first drafts. Of course, they created the very first drafts, state flags, here we go, where it didn't involve a seal. Take a look at, let's see an example, Mississippi. I see no seal. They decided to put a tree. That's a state tree. And they put a star there with a red background. I love this flag. I wish we brought it back. But of course, the liberals will boo-hoo, whine, and cry because this was the Confederate flag. How ridiculous. This was the flag of Louisiana. I don't know if this suits you, but it was definitely better than the current one. Sure, I mean, I will say, the current one's fine. I have nothing against the current flag of Louisiana. It's it has a loon. And I'm glad it doesn't involve the seal. The loon takes up most of the flag, and I respect that. But when you have huge space of blue with a seal in the middle, that's just ridiculous. This is Alabama's flag. Okay, no seal. It has a lady holding up the flag with Alabama with a star. This was a good flag. South Carolina edited this flag a little bit. Perfect. They didn't want to change it. That's fine. Texas didn't change it. This was Georgia's flag. Look at that. North Carolina, they inverted the colors from the current one. This was the original flag. You got Virginia, actually more modest compared to the pornographic flag. Now, I don't want to insult anyone that's from Virginia. I get what it means. It's a goddess, a Greek goddess, who's supposed to represent democracy, crushing an English noble. As you see the crowns right there, and I get it. And usually the Greek goddess tend to be very revealing with their own body. And I guess they decided to make it more realistic. But then again, the people's minds are changing. And yeah, I just don't think it's appropriate. That's my opinion. Take a look at Florida's flag. Yeah, they have a seal, but they have the stars and bars. I'm not saying Confederate stuff is good, but obviously, if we brought back the former Florida flag, they'd be boo-hoo, whining and crying. Oh! Tennessee, look at Tennessee. It's the agriculture state. Agriculture, commerce. Look at all these good flags. And compared to the northern flags, they're boring. This is the northern flag. We also got the flag of New York. Flag of New York. Okay? Look at this. This was the flag of New York. See, it's the same color. The only difference is they decided to put it in blue. This is the point. And I'm speaking out against people. I understand the Minnesota flag situation. That was frustrating. Utah's flag. I don't know why people over there are upset. They got a good flag. There's nothing woke about it. There's no I studied that flag and still do to this day. I can find nothing woke about it. The old flag was your average blue with a seal on top. And this is my opinion. Obviously, I'm stepping out of boundaries of what my party mostly views, but this is what I view. And I speak to you all as a person that has been admiring flags for almost 10 years. I know every single flag of the world, and I know how to design it. I'm a flag freak, and I've been a flag freak more than I have been a politics freak. And I still am. It just boggles my mind. And it's disappointing. Because I'm not saying it's bad because it was ranked the 60th best flag out of North America. No, I don't care. They think it's the 60th one flag they like, and they think it's the 60th worst flag. I don't care. It's the fact that obviously, you don't need to rank it. It's obviously bad. You can dislike the video. And if you're from Maine, I'm not insulting your state. I didn't like my flag, former flag. I value representation. And I don't think the current flag in Minnesota represents me. I don't think the current flag in Minnesota represents my state. It just represents a current ethnic group. So obviously, we got into a deep conversation, a much-needed conversation, because ever since the Utah flag thing, or in the Mississippi flag, I can understand the Mississippi flag. That was totally different. That was out of line. That Governor Tate Reeves was bending the knee to the BLM and the George Floydification, and they got rid of a pretty based flag and a very good flag, a flag that represented the state with a woke flag. And I understand that. And I understand that, and I would vote no to changing that flag in the ballot measure in 2020. I would vote no. But hang on. the damage was already done because Tate Reeves already abolished it. But anyway, I spent a long time talking. But what do you guys think in regards to this video? But obviously, a big conversation in regards to flags. Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.